Get started. Um, Thanks all for coming to this presentation, and I'm glad you saw the change of time. I'm going to sort of settle on this time for the foreseeable future. So we'll see how it works out. So I'm going to just share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to revisit these open banking regulations that are coming in around, basically around the world. Um, Open banking means quite a lot of things. It's a very it's quite a misleading term in many ways because there's a few hidden things that they're not saying there, like like for instance, the relevance to blockchain and to crypto digital payments is a huge part of open banking. And I've got some slides that I've screenshot from a Zoom that I was on with Payments New Zealand, which is it is a company here in New Zealand that's been given the task of project managing open banking with the banks here and with other financial firms. And yeah, so I have done this presentation a while back when it first came out, but now I'm revisiting it because it's now getting very close to full implementation. And I also have got some other key news that affects this as well. So what is open banking and what does it actually mean for us? So open banking is basically your approval, and they are seeking our consent, so they say, to allow it's allowing the bank. The way they've coined it is that it's allowing our bank to share our data with third-party suppliers or third-party providers of other forms of payment. But it's a lot more than that. It really is a lot more. It's a very nefarious way of saying that banks have got competition, and we can actually move from our regular bank, and we can now find other payment solutions and banking solutions that don't involve mainstream. And so that's really huge for us. This will include cryptocurrency. It'll include the digital wallets, decentralized finance products, and other blockchain-enabled services, as well as traditional financial services, including lending, borrowing. Credit cards will be integrated, and it will come with a whole bunch of other things. Data. Basically, it's going to bring data, real-time data with our current money situation or our investments. So it'll be able to show up-to-date pricing and that sort of thing. These regulations will have far-reaching consequences in the future and will revolutionize the way we transact, the way we spend, save, move money, and generally interact online and even in the stores. Banks now effectively have competition with fintechs, which means financial technology firms. And these fintechs, some of them are involved in just pure payments, regular payments that just much what the banks do now, but they are outsourcing it. They don't want to get involved in payments. But what is not said is the blockchain-based crypto side, which is a huge component. So it's what they're not saying rather than what they are saying, that we've got to really look at here. And so today I just found out some really huge news about how this is going to be affected and how this is going to affect us, is that the BRICS plus nations, in other words, the original BRICS plus their new member countries, have announced a new payment system and a currency that's going to go with it. It's not a currency for us retail people, but it is a currency to move money around the world in imports, exports, and global trade and global financial movements. It's going to be called the unit, or just unit. And it's going to be 40% backed by gold and 60% backed by each BRIC member's currency, a whole basket of currencies along with gold, which is absolutely massive. And it's going to be based on distributed ledger technology, which is a type of blockchain that XRP uses, XLM uses, XDC uses, and they're using DLT because it's super fast and it's super cheap and it's decentralized at its core, totally decentralized exchange. It's going to also be what they call an agnostic currency. In other words, it cannot be touched by human intervention, and it's completely neutral. It's a neutral currency, which is going to open up the world to this unit, as well as other cryptos, blockchains. It's going to create a whole new payment system for the world. This is like a paradigm shift of massive proportions. Yeah, and it will trade on the open market. I don't know the details about that yet, but I'm just going to give you a taster here. I'm going to do a full presentation on this next Wednesday. But I'm just giving you a taster of this now, just to preempt you and to open up your mind. So this unit, this currency called unit, will be connected to a new payment system called mBridge. mBridge was created by the Chinese, and it is being adopted and promoted by the Bank of International Settlements. And so this is obviously giving a little bit of distance between China and the rest of these countries. But that's very interesting in that the member nations of BIS includes obviously America. A lot of Western countries are members of the Bank of International Settlements. So why are they adopting and promoting effectively something that is going to open up this new payment system? It's because they've got to hedge their bets, because if they don't, the BRICS nations are going to go alone. They'll just push it out anyway. And basically this will cut the West right out, especially with an asset-backed currency. All the money and liquidity in the world is going to flow to that currency. It just makes absolute sense. So the BIS have got no choice. Their hand has been forced, and they are going to have to include this system into the larger global system. So this will effectively join the West with the East in all these new kind of currencies, which won't just include this new one, the unit. It's going to include our favorite cryptos, and that is like huge. This is the untold story about what's coming that people don't even realize. And how it will connect is through our ISO 20022 API standard. That's application programming interface. It means it's the APIs allow the crypto to plug into any other ledger or any other payment system. And so that's exactly what is going to happen, because ISO 20022 is a member of the mBridge. And mBridge, if that's connected to this new BRICS currency called the unit, they're all piggybacking on each other. And this mBridge project is in pilot at the moment. It's in beta stage with Thailand, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and China. So they're kind of like testing it out amongst themselves before they open it right up. And as I say, the Bank of International Settlements are kind of overseeing it. So that is massive news. So we just need to go over what an API is again. As I say, it's application program interface. The API is the connection point between an application that wants something and another system that has something. So it enables a new ledger, say a blockchain, to receive payments and to send payments, basically. And that's between anything and anything, between a blockchain and a traditional, the traditional banking system, which runs on a COBOL, basically COBOL, old computing system, very antiquated, but the APIs can facilitate unification with the newer technologies like blockchain. So is what ISO is a, and why would you want to use it? And it's very secure. I believe that it by I am putting sorry. So yeah, so this shows the dark blue is showing where these the dark blue is showing where these regulations are particularly coming in force, and the light blue as well. So you see India, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Brazil, America, North America, Canada, Mexico. These are all included, and good part of Europe, parts of the Middle East. You see here that Russia is not shown, and a good part of Africa, but that is, and these other areas that are not shown as being participating. Well, once Project mBridge is up and running, then it's going to be all around the globe, and it will come really, really fast. When they're ready to hit go, it'll happen super fast. So we're just preparing ourselves now before this shit hits the fan. And you see here, these are some of my screenshots. They're just giving an example of how you've got the API provider here, and you've got the third party. In this case, that could be, say, Ripple. It could be Ripple, the company Ripple behind XRP, and the money moves between there. And you've got all these other sort of buzzwords like industry networking, sandbox, industry roadmap, all this stuff that's just general kind of general conceptual stuff, just putting out a few buzzwords, nothing really important there. So basically what open banking is, it's also a real-time payment system. And the reason why it's real time is because of blockchain. That's another thing, again, is what they don't say. They're not saying it's a blockchain enabled payment system. They call it real time, and then it's disguising actually what's really behind it. So that's typical of how they talk. So real-time payments means instant payments worldwide with very low fees, very, very low fees. And it's all done on the blockchain, incorporating selected crypto and decentralized finance into the entire global financial system. And that is like, that is massive again. I mean, becoming a bit of a meme, everything's massive, but there are massive changes coming. So, how it used to be, how it is now, if we're sending money via the Swift bank transfer system overseas, it usually takes at least 2 or 3 days. It goes through sometimes several sets of hands. It's slow. They use our money to invest on the short-term money market while it's in transit. They charge us, fees. And if you're going through Western Union or some of the other non-bank solutions, the fees are exorbitantly high, up to 25%, which is like insane. So with blockchain, you can send New Zealand, say New Zealand dollars to crypto in America, or you could send your crypto to US dollars, or you could send money from New Zealand to, say, UK, and basically any currency to any currency, because the APIs make that happen. So they're not just linking in system to system, they're linking individual crypto to other crypto or even fiat money as well. So it's completely, it's streamlining everything. So, and I think eventually the fiat side will go and it'll become completely blockchain enabled digital. We are going cashless, but it just might take a while before they get the cash out of the system, because there's a lot in circulation. But they're certainly making their intentions clear that we are effectively got a digital system now, but they still use traditional systems, and they're using some cash, and they're using fiat money. Now the difference is that it's all going tokenized on the blockchain, which means much better transparency, better efficiencies, much more effective, much less errors, way cheaper for us. And basically it's going to take a big chunk out of the banks. The banks, monopoly, basically they're a cartel. And so this is going to rebalance things tremendously. It's going to suck a lot of cash flow out of the banks, and they are going to have to start getting into crypto to basically basically to make up for the losses they're suffering from the debt and the implosion that's coming in the existing system. So they call it the Payments Modernization Plan. Again, they use lovely terminology that makes it sound all wonderful. But as you see here in these squares here, or these hexagons, key things that stand out that make it, the languaging they use is a dead giveaway as to where the crypto side is coming in. Like cross-border, that's a classic term they use in crypto. The blockchain enables cross-border payments. Greater payment choices. Those choices are coming from the fintechs and from crypto. Real-time payments, we know what that is. value added applications. So that's where you're not just sending money, you can send data as well. And that's what the blockchain does. The blockchain, again, is a data transfer system. It's not just a money transfer system. And when I say data, like if you've got, say you've got currently, we've got a stock, you've got a stock, but you don't know what its current price is, or you don't know what the trading statistics are on it, how much has been bought and sold on the chart and all that. Well, when we hold our crypto, we'll be able to get all that information. So you'll get all the current price in real time. You'll get to see how it's moved in, say, the last 24 hours, 7 days, and you'll get other information around it as well, like who's it issued by. I mean, tons of stuff I don't know yet, but I know that there will be lots of other information that we can get instantly. So here's another screenshot that I've taken. Sorry, it's a bit crooked because I took it from my phone. I didn't know how to take a screenshot from the computer then. So, see, the key thing that they got here: new and enhanced payment instruments, ISO 20022 and CBDC. So they're actually mentioning the central bank digital currencies in here as well. And that's a lot of this is revolving around a CBDC. They're saying the quiet part about crypto very, very subtly, but CBDC and bank digital money is going to be a major feature of this. And they say here, linking payments, data, CBDC, API, and digital identity. They mention the digital ID thing, into new services, driving efficiency and innovation in the economy. So it makes all sound really wonderful. So they are going to be pushing for a centralized digital ID. However, just know that I know decentralized ID stuff is coming that blockchain can do, and that is going to be another option for us. We will not necessarily have to take a centralized ID, digital ID. We will have what they call DIDs, which means decentralized identity. And that means that they will not be able to harvest our information or track and trace our movements or our transactions using that system. Here's another screenshot about the real-time payment platform. See, they talk about it in first generation, second generation, third generation. So these are like how they roll it out in stages. And they already have it in the UK. The UK Faster Payments is already in operation. Then the second generation is involving Australia and the Saudi Arabia, and that is now effective now as well. So we're already moved to that stage, and this involves the ISO 20022. So that's going to come up a lot. That standard's going to come up a lot because it's so integral to this whole thing working. And remember, the tokens that are behind that, they don't tell you the crypto. Oh, by the way, this involves XRP and XLM and XDC and what are the others? Algorand and Quant and all of that. But they are there. We know that from our own research. So, and see how they've got in brackets next to the ISO 20022. They say more data for international interoperability. That is a very key word, interoperability, and enhanced information payload. And then underneath they've got real-time payments. And then in the third generation, the United Arab Emirates Now, well, I'm not quite sure what they mean here. They say a United Arab Emirates IPP build. So they obviously have a principal role in this rollout. And remember, the UAE have just joined the BRICS, remember? So this is how it's all going to link up. So if they've got this mBridge system and their new BRICS currency, this is how they are going to plug in via the ISO 20022. And this, in the third generation, they're coming with a whole lot more applications, a whole lot more use cases, including e-commerce, account to account. E-commerce is going to be a huge area of blockchain payments. QR codes are coming. That's if the internet goes down, you'll be able to use a QR code. That's how they're getting around any temporary internet breakdowns, which I believe will be temporary. That might be some days, especially when the system gets implemented. There will be a time where banks will shut, I believe, for at least 2 or 3 days, and then they will bring the system up on the other side. Mandate payments, I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. Request to pay, that's where they send to see this ISO is a messaging system as well as a way to make payments. So the messages is, such and such, like say me, Tony Knight wants to send X amount of dollars to here, to this company, rah, rah, rah. That's where all the messaging comes in. And then the money follows immediately. Whereas now with the Swift send the messages, but they don't send the payment for at least 2 to 3, up to 5 days. 5 days sometimes it takes, depending on which country you're sending the money to and from. So this alone is a massive, massive thing. Yeah, and then they talk about the ISO again, more data included, ready to replace older clearing systems. So the clearing systems are the ones that actually make the payment. That's what they call settlement. And settlement means when the receiver actually gets the money, when they receive the money, that's called settled. But when you send the money, it's not settled until they're ready to settle it because they've had it out for 2 or 3 days on some money market. So that's going to eliminate all that. We're going to be able to put the money, our own money, where we want. We won't have to put up with this anymore. It's cutting out a lot of middlemen and banking friction, what they call friction. And that friction is what makes them a lot of extra money. Yeah, so I'll go on to the next slide. It's a bit easier to see. So again, this is talking about the technology here, the real-time RTP, real-time payment platform evolution, migration from just transfer speed to enhanced payment experiences. So again, they're sort of doubling up on some of this information. They're talking about QR codes again, API standards, settlement model options. It's all a bit technical, some of this. So take some of these graphs with a grain of salt, because they are really, they're double Dutch to me. But if you read the words, you can see what they're planning. And this is going to plug everything into everything. Corporates to individuals, individuals to individuals, banks to banks, companies to companies, even governments to governments, anyone who's sending payment to anyone, it's all going to become out on a blockchain. And it's all going to become super fast. And even the big boys really want this. This is not just for us. This is a lot of companies who pay exorbitant fees. Some of these big companies that I've been hearing about who send a lot of money overseas, they're spending millions and millions of dollars a year on just fees to send money. And this is going to basically reduce those fees to, to negligible. And we're talking fractions of a cent here to send potentially millions of dollars. So this is a massive change. So even though some of these institutions don't like blockchain, on other areas they actually do like it. They might lose in revenue, but they're going to also be reducing their fees. So that's also, there is a great attraction at the higher level for this kind of system, as much as there is great opposition from somewhere. There's some of these banks, big banks particularly, they stand to lose a lot more than some of the other smaller banks or the financial institutions. So it's going to be a redistribution of funds. And I think ultimately we should be the main benefactor. A lot of money is going to leave the banks and be realigned and redistributed into decentralized finance. And if we are involved in decentralized finance, then we will be getting the direct benefit from that. I'm not really sure what this diagram is saying. I guess it's saying this is probably the sender and the receiver over here, and the core RTP platform is another word for blockchain. Let's just call it what it is. They just don't want to reveal that language, you see, because then too many people would find out what they're up to. That's really a lot of it. They're just keeping it so secret that ordinary people won't cotton on what's really driving this behind the scenes. And this is much of it, again, it's a sort of a similar slide that really doesn't bear much thinking. Same again, sort of repeating really. This one is where this has got a bit more information on it because this is generation 4. So I think this is getting near, or if not the final stage of this rollout. And I would say that in year terms, this is probably looking like 2028, maybe 2027, somewhere like that. I think this will be more like 2 to 3 years away. But then again, with what's happening with the BRICS and what's happening in the world, this could always be sped up. If they wanted to speed it up, they could, because all of this technology is already done. It's already built. They just want to roll it out slowly so that we don't, resist and fight back and, cause too many problems. They just want to just do it drip, 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 That's how they operate. So if you look down here, you'll start seeing some other words that might be trigger words, but let's just call it what it is. They've got it here in black and white. So I'm just gonna say it. Programmable instruments, CBDC, etc. Marketplace for service providers, e-invoicing, it's all fine. Extended integration, metaverse. So they are very much thinking of a lot of shopping, a lot of buying and selling and play and work will happen in the metaverse. Not my idea of where I want to be, but it will be for a lot of people. Now they've got 5G networks mentioned there as well. So it obviously needs 5G, IoT devices, Internet of Things, blockchain and distributed ledgers, smart contracts. That's important for us. Robust API integration and standards. And then over here on the right-hand side, they've got some of the applications that again, they're repeating themselves a bit, but there are a few new things there. International real-time payment platforms. That means that, you know, they, like I say, the international crypto as an international payment, as in a replacement for the US dollar, is coming. E-commerce, proxy service. I'm not sure what proxy service means. Mandate service, bulk payments. Banks will do. We get now in a regular financial system is going to come with blockchain. All the current stuff, plus a whole lot more. They also notice here, they say fraud management as a service, industry vertical schemes with services beyond just value transfer. That's what blockchain does. That's like decentralized social media. That's like, I say that's additional data, all sorts of other things we don't yet quite know. So a lot of things are going to change once this is once this lands in our lap. There's another slide here. Not sure that it's really understandable. It's really just giving some of their models of how they work, but you know, they use their language, so I'm not really sure about that, to be honest. What they say here, numerous schemes can be developed across the ecosystem. These services are all about orchestration, combining payment types, data, and platform services into instruments that, when combined with business rules and SLAs, not sure what that is, facilitate advanced payment functionality within ecosystem schemes. So it's basically another portrayal of the existing system being overhauled into these new systems. Yeah. So yeah, they're talking about New Zealand Generation 4 real-time payment platform, ecosystem integration. So they say here, they give here a few ecosystem integration across industry verticals via tailored overlay services, e.g. health, transport, entertainment, agriculture. So all industry is going to be affected. Related domestic systems, e.g. asset registries like property and vehicle. And how do they do that? This is where this is what they're talking here is tokenization. Asset registries like property and vehicle. In other words, they are going to be incorporated in the end stage of this new open banking system. So it's not just the movement of money, it's the movement of assets, like we've always said. And then they say here, metaverse and virtual Aotearoa, virtual New Zealand. A lot of this stuff is being developed right here in New Zealand too. This digital ID project has been project managed from New Zealand. And then they say here, opportunities, integrate with digital ledgers. Digital ledgers, we know that's blockchain, via smart contracts, automated contracts that we talk about, which enable to coordinate business flows and payments. Leverage programmability of central bank digital currencies for genuine atomic DVP, coordinating external systems like asset registries, which mean tokenization of real world assets. That's what that means. Embedded payment systems via overlay services where the payment becomes invisible to the process. So that is interesting. That'll probably be CBDC, no doubt. Bear in mind that these are just their plans, and plans are subject to change. And I think the CBDC is going to be significantly watered down. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think eventually it'll become a benign thing and it'll be like another version of digital cash, but it is not going to last as a track and trace system. But I hope that I'm right, and I may be wrong. But the thing to know is that even with that CBD system, we are going to be able to use crypto. We use our own crypto. We'll be able to use other forms of payment like stable coins that will be quite different. So you've got to remember, this is not, they cannot get every country to agree to how it should be. So each country and each payment system or each blockchain will have its own individual set of rules. So that's what I've heard from the people at the top. We'll all have our own individual systems for getting in and out, and but it'll all be plugged into one big main system. Supporting commerce across Internet of Things devices via request to pay and mandate payments. Regional interconnectivity between national real-time payments platforms and including potential for pan-Pacific remittances. These considerations move beyond the existing remit of a traditional payment system operator and require new operating models, e.g. product management capability, industry liaison beyond banks. Organization structures and new relationships with legislation, regulation, consumer and industry cooperation forums. So this is what they're talking about as far as us, and by the looks of it, also Australia and Southeast Asia as well. It looks like we're going to be in our own little payment hub area, the South Pacific. This is another screenshot I took of all their different keywords. There's some things that really stand out. Obviously, CBDC against ISO 222 again, DLT, which is the blockchain, smart contract, stable coin is in there, smart payment, API, supply chain. This is also all about supply chain management. Blockchain does that really, really well. You've got wallet there, they meaning digital wallet. That's our wallets. AML was the money laundering. That's what they love to do. Digital.ID, metaverse, 5G. Some things there I know are likely to trigger you, but this is just how they operate. I would take it with a very big grain of salt. So basically, in summary, these are the key takeaways that I get out of this. is, well, basically these new systems are going to fundamentally change our financial and social systems in paradigm shifting ways. We are in for massive change, and it's not just superficial, it's systemic change. That means everything changes. So, and that is even more apparent with this new BRICS currency. The BRICS unit, what they call a unit, the currency called the unit, and Enbridge, it will ensure that big time. This will come over a period of years of integration, but the big changes will happen when they go live with that. You can be sure that that's why the war drums are beating now. That's why they're talking about World War III. They're basically fighting over this. The IMF and the World Bank, they're fighting desperately to try and keep as many countries on their. See, a lot of countries owe big money to the IMF. And what they're talking about doing is reneging on their debt and going with the BRICS for cover under this payment system. They would definitely want to go to war over that. Because we're talking hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars when you add it all up. Particularly, this is why Africa and Latin America are really aligned with the BRICS, because a lot of them are under the thumb of the IMF and the World Bank and the Fed and all their other cronies, and they cannot get out of there on their own. But when they come together with all the other BRICS nations who are giving them protection, then they can make a run for it. And I believe they're also doing this when America and the West are at our weakest moment. They've chosen this moment to bring out the BRICS strength in this payment currency and digital money and all this, because America and the US dollar is at its weakest point. It has been for the last 100 odd years. And so they are making the play now, while their so-called enemy, when I say so-called, they're frenemies as well. But this is definitely the time for them to make a major change when the West is a little bit down and on the ropes. And this is also why the West is doing so much to disrupt us, because they want us fully distracted and stripped of our money and our assets while this change is going on. They do not want us to get a sniff of this. This is so big. When you realize how big this is, you'll do a few oh my gods like I've done, and really sort of holy shit, this is way bigger than what your mind can comprehend right now. But when it sinks in, when you realize what's happening here, everything is going to change, not just payments, but the way we live, social structure, everything. So this doesn't just affect payments, but all types of transactions, including property settlement and asset management, asset ownership, the transfer of ownership of assets, and the whole kit and caboodle. This is what the Internet of Value is about. It means money is moved using the internet and blockchain, as well as assets. So the blockchain is just like another version of the internet. You still go in through the internet portal, but instead of going into the centralized internet, you're going into the blockchain. It's really what it's all about. So our banks, basically, this means our banks now have competition. This open banking is already in 60 countries. That was over a year ago. I'd say it's probably a lot more than that now. QR codes will also be used prominently. Digital wallets will be integrated into this system, our crypto digital wallets. CBDCs are coming. They're being developed in over 100, it's actually now over 160 countries. So just about everybody's looking at a CBDC because they know their fiat currency is just about done, especially when the US dollar is basically removed as the sole reserve currency. Then all the other fiat currencies that are tied to it, they're going to get totally smashed. The US dollar is the head of the octopus. The digital ID has been worked on in the background. As I say, I believe we will have a choice of central digital ID and decentralized ID, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. And but we'll see that more concretely in the months to come, I think. Decentralized apps, or what they call DApps, or what we call blockchain websites, blockchain-enabled websites as a DApp, they will be able to integrate, thus bringing decentralized finance and our decentralized ecosystem into the mainstream payment system. It's another offshoot. It will be a major offshoot where we can still operate in decentralized ways without having to even really integrate with the larger payment system if we don't want to. So this has been consumer and technology driven. All of this changes is not driven by the big banks and the cartels. They are not front running this. This is what people have got to realize. They're only adopting it and jumping on the train now because the technology has got such a stage they can't ignore it anymore. This is what people have got to realize is cutting out their human intervention. It means that everything is going to run more automated. It means that the technology is in charge, not people. So, and coupled with that, the trust in the banks is at an all-time low. And because of that, when people really realize what's going on here, I think a lot of them are going to jump ship. They're going to jump out of the banks and into blockchain. It'll be an absolute stampede from 2025. I think mid to late 2025 onward, it'll become a stampede because the ISO then goes live to everybody. And if the banks are not in, then they're out. Apparently, the deadline is November 2025. They have to be in, otherwise they're going to be excluded from the main system. The ISO 20022 standard, the standard currencies that are aligned will feature very prominently in this system. And that includes XRP, XLM, XDC, Algorand, Quant, IOTA, and I also believe Hedera Hashgraph and ADA, which is Cardano. These are all going to be platforms in their own right that'll be very large, but put them all together, they comprise a significant pillar to this new system. And you've got a mixture there. All these different tokens do different things. Some are, payments. Some are layer one smart contract enabled. Some are trade finance. Quant is doing a big part to join up a lot of the dots. It's also running an API system. IOTA is the Internet of Things. And Hedera is about getting governments on board and huge corporations. And Cardano is also a layer one smart contract that's going very against the grain of the established order. Charles Hoskinson reckons he's forming his own jurisdiction under Cardano, and everyone will be that's a member will be a citizen of in what he calls like an enlightened type society. That was his words, where everyone's treated the same, where there's no secrecy, everything's transparent. So he's turning his platform into a community where people can basically have freedom and basically be private. And so we have to see how that pans out. I think that's why it's a very hated platform. He cops a lot of heat, that guy. But I think that he might be onto something here. So yeah, so basically that's the presentation. Um, I think that I think this is pretty huge news. We're getting very close to. I still think that we're probably a few months away before the really big guns come out, but I think later this year you're going to see the big moves. The BRICS are making are having this huge conference in September, and they may well announce their new official currency then. That's the one I just mentioned. And there's going to be tons of other news coming out. You're leading up to the American election. You've got Ethereum, by the way. SEC's just announced today that Ethereum is no longer on the watch list as a security. Ethereum is going to be plugged into this new system, no doubt. And I also believe so will Bitcoin. I know there's a lot of, I've always been a little bit on the fence with Bitcoin, but I think it will survive as like a digital store of value. It's not so great as a currency. It's far too slow and expensive. But I think a lot of the big institutions love Bitcoin and they'll put their money in there. And I know some people will disagree with me, but I think it's got too big now. And it's with the ETF and the momentum that's happening, it's going to be huge. And then there will be other tokens, like I mentioned, and some others I didn't mention, but they will be there. Like Chainlink will be prominent, and as far as some of the others go, we don't actually know, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I'll stop the recording now.